This is a shift in our karma. This is a shift in our destiny. This is us collectively and individually taking on a brand new path. This particular shift of the nodes is extra important on a kind of global historic scale. Major transformative overhauls of our entire lives where things change really dramatically, really quickly, and we can be shot off into a completely new direction. Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another super exciting, very special extended astrology forecast. This one is for January 18th of 2022 all the way through to July 17th of 2023. That's right, this is an 18-month forecast because we are talking about the nodes changing signs. The lunar nodes are moving from the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius, where they've been for the last year and a half, into the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. They're retrograding backward, as they always do, into new signs, and it's happening now. This is a big energy because this is a shift in our karma. This is a shift in our destiny. This is us collectively and individually taking on a brand new path that we have never embarked on before, and letting go of so much that is dragging us down, holding us back, all the while harnessing the talents and gifts that we have been blessed with through our past experiences. There's a lot to unpack here. Not only that, but the lunar nodes and their position dictate the position of the eclipses over the next 18 months. And I'm sure you guys are well aware that the eclipses bring major transformative overhauls of our entire lives where things change really dramatically, really quickly, and we can be shot off into a completely new direction, before we even realize what's going on. It's a synchronistic, fated energy that we don't always feel like we have a lot of control over. And the lunar nodes reflect that energy in a way that is not quite as extravagant, not quite as amped up as the eclipses, which are basically activations of the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are actually astronomical calculations. They're not planets. They're calculations that are primarily utilized to determine when and where the eclipses will be occurring. And so they're very intertwined. They're linked in together in a way that you can't really separate. And so when we're talking about the nodes, we're talking about the eclipse points. And so this is going to shift a lot for us. And this particular shift of the nodes is extra important on a kind of global historic scale, because we'll have the North Node this July, on July 31st of 2022, coming into an exact conjunction with Uranus. Historically, this has brought very disruptive technologies that alter the course of human history in a dramatic, big way. And so we're going to be talking about all of that in this video. I'm going to be making some mundane global predictions, and we're going to especially be getting into the forecast for all 12 signs, where we talk about how this is going to be impacting you personally, how this is going to change your life personally over the next 18 months. Big energy, you guys. I'm super excited about this video and to talk about this with you guys. But before we get into that, I just want to mention, for those of you who are new to my channel, first off, welcome. My name is Heather Eland, and I'm a professional astrologer, and I specialize in helping students who are struggling to put all of the bits and pieces together to give interpretations, chart interpretations, and I help them go from struggling and being a little bit confused, to giving meaningful, accurate, professional level astrology readings with confidence. And I actually have a super exciting free resource coming up. I'm going to tease you about right here because the registration doesn't open until February 2nd, but I'm going to be doing a free webinar for aspiring astrologers, for anyone who wants to learn how to make their own interpretations and give readings. We're going to be focusing on the biggest myths and mistakes that are preventing you from actually putting the pieces together. We're going to fill the gaps in your knowledge base that are preventing you from giving meaningful interpretations for things like planetary aspects, especially. And we're going to cover a lot of ground. So I'll be giving you more information about that soon, so keep your eyes peeled. Stay tuned for that. And I'm also going to be doing a series of free live Instagram lives, right? Those are always free. But I'll be going live on Instagram throughout the month of February to do some more of that to help you where you're struggling most, to answer your questions about different astrological concepts and techniques, and to help kind of pick away some, again, myths and mistakes and areas of struggle and fill in some of those gaps in your knowledge base. And so if you're not following me on Instagram, my username is Astrology with Heather. You can find me there. And so, before we move on even further, I just want to mention that the way that I structure these forecast videos is that I always start with a 5 to 10 minute general forecast. This one's going to be a little bit longer, just to forewarn you, because this is such a massive shift, and I do want to get into some of the kind of more global, large scale impacts of this energy for you guys. But don't skip this, because this is going to provide an important context for the energy we'll be discussing in the more personalized forecast for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when we do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the 18 months ahead. Your sun or rising sign is going to be the most predominant energy. Your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be a little bit more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I do a preview of the next forecast that we're going to be doing, and in this video, I'm going to do a preview of a special sort of hybrid tutorial forecast that I'll be doing in just a couple of weeks here that also involves the lunar nodes, so stick around until the end if you're interested in that. And so getting back into the forecast for the lunar nodes changing signs, again, big energy. So let's start with kind of the historical reference points, so that way you guys can kind of do a little bit of thinking and contemplating and research on how this has impacted you in your own life, because the energies that came around the last time that we had the lunar nodes in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio are likely to be reflected in the themes that you'll be experiencing this time around. And so last time we actually had the nodes in these positions was 2003 and 2004. So that 2-year period or 18-month period in 2003 and into 2004. So thinking back to that time period in your life and the major shifts and changes that were going on during that period will help you to understand a little bit more about what's coming up for you. In fact, I highly recommend spending some time in contemplation or in meditation and journaling about what the major themes were in your life, especially connected to your chart, especially connected to the themes and topics we'll be bringing up when we do your forecast for all 12 signs. Also, think back to 2012 through 2014, because this is the last time we had the nodes in the opposite signs. So this will be the node reversal of what we're experiencing right now. And a lot of the major themes and events and energies that came up will be flipped upside down or will change in some way. So whatever you moved into at that time that was hugely significant, something about that will either be flipped upside down or will change course in a big way over the course of these next 18 months. And so that's an important point of meditation, reflection. I highly recommend journaling about that time frame as well. But right now, it's a little bit different than what we experienced in those past like 2 times that I just described, because Uranus wasn't in the mix. And so we have Uranus transiting the sign of Taurus. I have a video for you up here. I have a couple videos for you that I'm going to be floating around up here to help you understand that a little bit better, what that Uranus and Taurus transit represents. But Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus for a few years now, since 2018, and it's shaking things up in an area where we thought things were stable and secure and pretty static. Like, this is an area in our lives where we didn't think things were going to be really subject to that much change. It's a fixed earth sign. It's the most grounded sign in the zodiac, right? And collectively, we're seeing disruptions in areas where we didn't really anticipate this type of change, right? Like we've gotten so used to having things that come to us on demand whenever we want, like being able to have access to whatever food or material good or part to, our car or whatever it is that we want to have, and to have it pretty much instantaneously at this point, in the age of Amazon Prime and all of that, stuff, which we'll talk about a little bit more as we get into this. And we've had supply chain disruptions. There's also been disruptions to the monetary system and the way we view money, right? We have seen a huge influx in just cryptocurrencies and people adopting cryptocurrencies, and a lot of fluctuations in the cryptocurrency markets since this whole time period began, which was pointed out to me by Rita Priya, who's my former business coach, one of my friends, and who studies financial astrology. And that's a prediction I actually made coming into the Uranus and Taurus, big 8-year transit. So, so anyway, I'm digressing a little bit here. But this Uranus and Taurus energy is going to be amplified in ways that we never could have expected. And that's going to be a big part of this energy and a big focus of this forecast. A lot of what we're going to be talking about here will also be accelerated and amplified during the eclipse periods. And so, of course, we'll get into all the details of each eclipse as they're happening. The first one's going to be in April, actually, of this year, at the end of April in 2022, in my normal forecasts. But just know that you might feel like this energy is coming and it's building and you're being pulled in these directions, but it's not super dramatic until it's triggered. And those main trigger points are going to be the eclipses. And so let's kind of get into the nodes and what they represent in these signs, right? Because this is kind of the big thing here. And so the lunar nodes represent a couple of different things. So the north node and the south node, they run on an axis. And so you can't have one without the other. They balance each other out and they play off of each other. And so whatever we're experiencing is going to encompass both of these energies in a way that's both synergistic, but also maybe a little bit polarizing or challenging because of that polarity. And so with the north and south nodes, these represent very fated, very karmic points. They're the destiny points in the astrology, in your birth chart and in transit. In transit, they show us a big shift in direction collectively and individually, where things are going to change in ways that we don't really have a lot of control over, you guys. I mean, astrology is a dance, in my opinion, between fate and free will. We have energies that are playing out, but we also have the ability to respond to these energies through our own personal willpower, through our own personal choices. However, with the lunar nodes, that seems to be less so the case. Whatever the lunar nodes bring, it's something that was already set in motion prior to us incarnating in this lifetime. That is the prevailing theory, and that is my prevailing viewpoint on this topic. And especially after experiencing so many transits of the nodes and so many eclipse cycles, the feeling, the sensation that you get, especially with the south node, the north node too, but especially with the south node, is that you don't have control over what's going on here. You don't even know what the hell is going on. It's just happening, right? It's like, oh gosh, this is happening. It seems synchronistic. It feels important. I guess I just have to go with it. And if you struggle against it, that makes things a lot more difficult because it's going to happen either way. With the North Node, there's usually a sense that you're guiding it and that you're making choices, or like almost like an illusion that you're making choices, but it's almost like you feel like you don't have any option and this is the choice that you have to make. Like you feel so pulled in that direction that really it's not a choice. It's like a trick that your mind is playing on you, because it's like yeah, it's very bizarre. It's a very bizarre sensation. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about here. But with the North Node, this shows us where we'll see growth and new opportunities. It also shows us where we're going to have an insatiable appetite for material worldly pursuits and material worldly success. And this will especially be the case with the North Node transiting Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign. It's all about material comforts, it's about finances, it's about luxury, it's about things that we can experience with our sensory perception. It's very, very like real, tangible, earthly, right? And so we're going to have this experience where we're going to be on a quest for tangible material gains. This will be a period where people are looking for tangible material growth, but also this is going to be a period where people are really seeking and craving alternative means to find stability during a period of really great instability. And that's going to be on a collective and on a personal level. And so we're going to be going through a period of destabilization. We're already obviously going through a period of destabilization. And this is going to bring forth innovative new ways to create greater stability in the future through new technologies or new just ways of thinking about things, new ways of approaching things that we never could have imagined prior to this time period. This North Node conjunction to Uranus is going to bring a lot of volatility in a lot of different areas, especially when it comes to things that are very tangible, very physical, very grounded. We'll see very likely greater instability in the financial markets. We're going to see unprecedented changes in the way that we deal with finances, material possessions, and currency. And I would say that, the supply chain issues we've been dealing with are not going to necessarily go away. However, this could be a push to find groundbreaking new solutions to help resolve those issues. And as I mentioned before, this energy of the North Node conjunct Uranus historically has been associated with really crazy new developments in technology that at the time that they're released or that they're brought forth, they might not be recognized as something that's going to alter the course of humanity. We might not even know, like kind of in the collective, that these things are going on, but they're going on. And what ends up happening is that these things really alter the course that we're moving on. And so I'm going to give you a few examples of this because I think this is a really big deal, especially given the disruptive technologies we've already been experiencing. And so, this exact conjunction between the North Node and Uranus happens on July 31st. And so, what I found through my research is that 1 year prior and 1 year after, so within 1 year of this exact conjunction, this is when all of these technologies, this is when all of these changes start to take hold. And they grow into something bigger later on in subsequent cycles. And so, I'm going to actually start with I'm not going to go all the way back in history for all of these, but I'm going to start with the most recent, right? And so the most recent conjunction between Uranus and the North Node was on March 31st of 2007 in Pisces. Within a year of that conjunction, we had several inventions that heavily distorted our reality. Think about that energy of Pisces being very illusion based. It really distorts our perception. And so we have that energy of Pisces and of Uranus in the North Node and these really crazy new developments in technology that have altered the course of human history. And some of these include Facebook being launched, the iPhone, right? The first iPhone, which was really the first like full scale smartphone. Prior to that, we only had like the BlackBerry, and Kindle, right? Amazon Kindle. So these are the three technologies that I thought were most significant that were actually launched during that time period. Prior to that, we actually had a North Node conjunction to Uranus in Capricorn on November 12th of 1991. Within a year of that conjunction, we had several inventions that actually revolutionized the way that we do business, including the very first website being created, the first website ever. That is hugely significant. It was barely, a blip on the radar for most people, but it turned into something, massive, obviously, because it changed the entire way we live our lives. Also, there was a lot of advances in like microprocessors and microchips and things like that. 2G was actually released. And now we're releasing 5G during this new Uranus conjunction. I'll leave it at that. The Palm Pilot, which was really the precursor to all of these smartphones and all of these different things that we have, right? And so that was all put out there in around this time period in 1991. Prior to that, and this is the one that's the most significant because it's kind of the node reversal of what we're going through right now, where the North Node was in a conjunction with Uranus in Scorpio. And this happened September 8th of 1976. And within 1 year of that period, and this is crazy, you guys, mind-blowing, Microsoft was founded. Apple was founded, and the first Apple computer was sold. So we had that happening the first time. And then we had the second time these revolutions with the Palm Pilot and microprocessors and the first website, and then the time after that, the iPhone and Facebook and Kindle, right? So these are things that really dramatically altered the course of human history, and we will see that again, and it's already happening right now. The things that are going to change our direction as a result of this conjunction are probably already at play. And, we'll continue to see new developments, but we might not know how important they really are and how they're really going to alter our society until later on in retrospect. And so that's part of this energy too. So kind of going back, taking a step back here. So the North Node conjunction to Uranus is actually going to happen on July 31st, and it's going to be a very tough, very challenging energy collectively and individually. And so this is where the energy is kind of going to bring a big shakeup. So we're starting this energy with the North Node actually in trine to Pluto in Capricorn, because as I mentioned before, the nodes move in retrograde, but we're kind of building to this period that's going to happen in the middle of the year where the North Node will conjunct Uranus in Taurus, while it's also in an exact conjunction with Mars, while it's squaring Saturn and squaring Mercury. So there's a T-square forming between Mars and Uranus and the North Node and Saturn and Mercury. This is hugely destabilizing. This is hugely stressful. It's kind of like a very sudden event or a very sudden occurrence shifts or alters the direction that we're moving into in a way that we can't go back. We can't change it. We can't, go back to the way things were. And it causes a lot of stress, a lot of strain, a lot of extra burden, and it might delay our plans or cause us to have to change course in a way that adds responsibility and adds pressure onto our plates. And so that's something to really be aware of, especially if you're somebody who has a lot of fixed sign energy. We are going to specifically talk about this in the forecast for all signs because this is such a big pivotal moment in time, but we're going to start feeling it as soon as we get into this energy, although it will be mitigated by that Pluto trine. And so we're going to start out this energy knowing that something big is shifting, knowing that something big is coming. You might already be feeling it because as this video is being released, the North Node is already in the sign of Taurus, but we're not going to fully be all the way in it until the summertime. And especially, we'll start to see a little bit more of a glimpse of what's to come when we get into the first eclipse season in April and in May. And so there's a sense that something's happening. There's a sense that fate is stepping in and guiding us in a new direction, and it's something we never could have thought of, we never could have imagined. With Uranus, it's a wild card energy. You have to expect the unexpected and prepare for things that you probably can't fully prepare for, right? So it's more about preparing for it mentally, so that way you have the flexibility, and maybe preparing for it physically so you have the ability to shift and pivot as you need to throughout this year. As opposed to, really knowing what's going on and preparing for a specific change. So that's what's going on the North Node side of things. And this also, I should mention, as we're getting into the South Node, this is a fixed energy on both sides. And so both signs are fixed signs. The sign of Taurus is a fixed earth sign. It has to do with physical stability and physical stubbornness and unwillingness to change something physically. We don't maybe want to let go of certain physical comforts in order to make the changes, the dramatic changes that we're going to need to make as a society and on an individual level to get through this and to move in the direction collectively, and again, individually, that we are destined to move into. The other side of this is Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. This is where we're going to have to be shedding a lot of our emotional and psychological attachments to things. And there's also a very psychological stubbornness and a very psychological stamina, like a very intense psychological stamina that comes with the energy of Scorpio. It's associated with intense mental, psychological, and psychic focus. And so we'll have the gifts of these things that will be brought out into the open, brought to the surface by the South Node energy. And so that psychological and emotional and even psychic focus, that laser focused energy can help us to get through the changes that we need to make as long as we have cultivated that in the past, right? But, those physical changes, those are going to be, I think, even more uncomfortable. So the thing that's going on with the South Node, though, so let's kind of backtrack there a little bit. So the South Node, when we're talking about the transits in the astrology, it represents an area of unraveling. It's where sort of the shadow aspects of what we've created individually and as a society in that area of our life, it becomes very apparent, very in our face, and we can no longer ignore it. We have to unravel it. We have to surrender it. We have to let it go. It brings up repeating patterns and cycles from previous lifetimes and this lifetime that are no longer serving us and that are bogging us down and preventing us from moving forward into the new path that we need to be moving into. It also, when it comes to society at large, it'll bring up a lot of the shadow energies associated with Scorpio. And it, again, in our personal lives too. So Scorpio has a huge association with obsessions, compulsions. It has an association with addictions. In addition to Neptune, there's different, aspects of that, which I'm not going to get into, in depth in this video, but it has to do with addictions. So this is a time where a lot of people will be surrendering and letting go of old addictions, or they're going to succumb to it and they're going to struggle really hard to make the changes they need to make. This is a time period where we can go through an immense psychological and emotional healing through purging and letting go of things in our psychology, in our psyche that are not serving us. Maybe old fears, old anxieties, things from our past that we are just unwilling to let go of, but we know are toxic to us, right? And this could also be a big energy around detox. So, because Scorpio rules the detoxification systems of the body, any area of your body where things can go out but not come back in, those are Scorpio ruled, if you catch my drift. And so, physical detox is going to be a bigger thing. And I think there's going to be a lot more discussion around things that are toxic to us in our environment or things that we are ingesting or putting into our bodies in a variety of different ways that are toxic, and maybe ways of clearing that out. So detoxes are going to be much more prevalent and apparent and talked about. People on an individual level, I mean, this is a really great time to do some sort of physical detox. This is a really great time to let go of old addictions, psychological, emotional, or otherwise. And this is a really important time where a lot of these other shadow areas of Scorpio are going to become more in your face, and they're going to start to unravel. And so kind of thinking about the energy of Scorpio and how it relates to this polarization, it's very black and white. It runs in extremes. The extremes in our society, the extremes in our psychology and in our mindsets around things, the extremes in our emotions are going to be amplified, but we're also going to be actively aware of it and engaging with the process of letting go and maybe breaking away from some of these things. This is also a time where, conspiracy theory is going to be much more prevalent, and there's going to be a bigger awareness around, and I'm not saying this to I'm a Scorpio rising. I love a good conspiracy theory, right? And I know that a lot of these things that are floating around are factual. They're not just theory, they're fact. But not every conspiracy theory is conspiracy fact. There's a lot of disinformation, misinformation, and chaos out there. A lot of that was brought about by the North Node in the sign of Gemini, which is an excess of conflicting information. The North Node brings things to excess. And so I think we're going to be going through a period of increased discernment and really intensive research to get to the bottom of things and to actually kind of separate the conspiracy theory from the conspiracy fact. And so I think that's going to be a big thing as well. And that's something we're going to have to do in our own lives too. Like look at what's truthful at a core level, like what deeply at a core level we know to be true, we know to be right, we know that resonates with us versus what doesn't. And also actually doing research, because that's a Scorpio thing too, to figure out what the facts are at the core of everything that's coming in right now, at the core of all of this disruption, all this change that we're going through. What are the facts? We're going to get back to that and we're going to get down into that. And so that's going to be a big energy with this lunar node transit. And so I think that's good for right now. We'll obviously continue to talk about this more and bring more into the mix as it unfolds over every single eclipse cycle for the next year and a half. I'll be here to guide you through that. But yeah, let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning of course with Aries and Aries rising. And this is, as I mentioned before, an 18-month forecast. We're going to be focusing on the shift of the nodes and also the conjunction between the North Node and Uranus. And the eclipses will get to when we get to them, but they're going to be an amplification of this energy, which is going to be kind of like a slow boil, and then it'll kind of catapult us into something bigger as we get into the eclipse seasons. So yeah, let's get started. All right, and so for Aries and for Aries rising, the shift in focus for you, the new path that you're going to be moving into is a path of changing things up and moving into a brand new direction when it comes to your resources, your finances, and the way that you deal with money. There could be brand new opportunities that come in for you over the next 18 months that you never could have imagined when it comes to the way that you create resources or the way that you spend your money or the way that you invest your money. But this could also bring a lot of shakeups too. It's kind of like these changes come out of necessity because there's going to be some sort of disruption there. This is also you letting go of old debts, old ties financially to other people, where maybe people are holding money over your head, anything and everything that has to do with your finances that no longer serves you, especially when it comes to joint finances or joint financial ventures or bad investments or things of that nature, you're going to be moving away from and letting go of. You're going to be relying more on your own efforts and your own hard work to create and generate money. This is going to be a time though where there could be a little bit of struggle, especially in the summertime where, expect the unexpected. It's kind of like you have to plan for every possible scenario financially because things are going to take a little bit of a turn and you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to work a little bit harder to create the stability that you want to create. You're going to have an insatiable need to be successful financially, and you're going to have an insatiable desire to create stability for yourself through innovative new means that you've never explored before. And that's a really good thing. But I think a lot of that is going to stem from an actual necessity to do so, where something about your financial situation has already been kind of shaky or tense, or maybe you've been frustrated with it in one way or another, and all of a sudden it's going to turn a corner and it's going to be amplified quite a bit. And there could definitely be some stress or some strain, and especially maybe some like a very acute, very all of the sudden unexpected situation that comes up for you financially this summer. It could be a new opportunity, but it's still something that's going to be stressful, and it's going to be something that you're going to have to work for. Eventually, it'll end up being something quite liberating and quite exciting for you. But the path to getting there, that initial onset could be, just a little dicey. So that's something to be aware of. On the flip side, you're going to be going through a powerful time of psychological and emotional healing. Any old obsessions, compulsions, addictions, any fears or anxieties that are tied to trauma from the past, you are going to be very rapidly and very actively working on letting go of these things. And that's going to be absolutely incredible. And it's going to be, again, very liberating, even though the process of doing so could be a little bit challenging. But I would say overall, in the end, this is going to put you on a brand new path, a brand new direction, where you're going to feel much more self-empowered, much more self-assured, and you're going to have a way better handle on your resources. You're going to be making money in ways that you never could have imagined, because it hasn't really reached your consciousness just yet. And so that's really exciting. All right. And so for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, your whole life is going to be flipped upside down this year. This is where you're going to be moving into a brand new direction in all areas of life, especially if you're a Taurus rising or sun, but even if you're a Taurus moon sign. This is your whole life being flipped upside down so you can move into a brand new path that's way more aligned with your destiny. The signs, the synchronicities, the chance fated encounters are going to be all over the place for these next 18 months for you. You are going to be aligning yourself with your destiny. This is where everything takes a turn. It's going to be like, you lived a previous lifetime, and this is a brand new beginning, a brand new lifetime within this current lifetime for you. This is also going to bring a lot of change when it comes to your relationships. You could have new relationships that come in, romantic or otherwise, that feel fated, that feel karmic, that feel like family, or that feel really familiar to you, even though you've never actually engaged with these people in this current lifetime, in this current experience. And these are people that you're meant to continue out some sort of cycle, some sort of karma, some sort of duty with in this lifetime. And again, it could be romantic, but it could just be really close friendships coming up. It could be business related. It could be all of the above. And in your current partnership, if you are somebody who is partnered up, this could be you having to let go of an old way of being. This could be past cycles, past experiences coming back around so you can harness the lessons in a really powerful way. But there's something fated that you're going to be going through together as a couple. For some people, this could be the loss of a relationship, but I would say for most, that's not going to be like absolutely the case. And this is going to be, and if there is a disruption to your relationship, it's coming from you, because you are going through such a massive disruption. This is a time where you are focusing on figuring out who the heck you are, what your purpose is, what your path is in life. And you're going to be going through a massive change when it comes to the way that you align yourself with your destiny, the way that you show up in the world. You're going to be going through a massive change when it comes to your goals, direction, and orientation in life, and even the way that maybe you present yourself physically. And so this is a time where there's going to be a shakeup. And I would say, especially, there could be a shakeup related to your career and your public status, and some struggles that you've been going through there that you're going to really actively and very quickly break free from during the course of this conjunction between the North Node, Mars, and Uranus in January or July, but also leading up to that point. And so it's kind of like you've been feeling really pressured and really burdened by what's going on externally, by your work, or by maybe oppressive rules, regulations, and circumstances that are being passed down to you through authority figures. And you're kind of like, all right, I'm over this, I'm done, I'm changing this. And this summer, it really heats up for you. And so you're going to be going through a little bit of a wild ride here, and it's going to be important for you to be flexible and to be able to roll with the punches and move with the energy, because Taurus is a fixed sign, fixed earth, right? You're not super comfortable with big amounts of change. And I would say that this year for Taurus is going to be an enormously life-changing year. And so everything that you need to liberate yourself from, you will liberate yourself from over the course of this year, especially over the summer. But it's not going to feel cozy, right? It's not going to feel comfortable in that process. You're going to have to be able to sit in that discomfort and let go of what you need to let go of in order to move forward in that new path. And, in doing so, you're going to have a lot of really incredible blessings. You're going to have a whole new liberated, maybe unconventional lifestyle. You're going to be more you. You're going to rebel against who you once were, and you're going to become more of who you actually are. So for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Gemini, the nodes are shifting into your 12th and your 6th house. There could be massive changes going on here in terms of your health and your day-to-day life and routines. This would actually be a really great time for you to purge very literally and detox very literally physically, to let go of anything that you're putting into your body, anything that you're incorporating into your daily routines, any addictions that you are holding on to that are not necessarily in your body's best interest. And so that's going to be something that you'll be really working on and really working through. You could also have very faded karmic changes that show up for you when it comes to your work, your health, and your daily routines that feel really familiar, that feel really comfortable or really karmic in some way. When those come to pass, definitely take hold of that because that's going to be a huge blessing for you. And a lot of the talents and gifts that you already have from your previous experiences in your work or from your previous experiences maybe in a past lifetime that you're not consciously aware of. These talents and gifts are going to come back around and you're going to be able to incorporate them into the work that you're doing out in the world much more effectively. On the other side of this, the North Node is showing you what you're moving into, and part of this South Node in the sixth house energy and North Node, which is what you're growing in the 12th house of rest and reprieve. This is going to be you letting go of any workaholic tendencies. This is going to be you letting go of an old schedule. This is going to be maybe even you letting go of an old job that doesn't serve you, so you can spend more time focusing on your spiritual practices, focusing on your inner world, your inner development. And so this is going to be, a really important time, but this is a time also where you're going to be very actively letting go of a lot. You're going to be very actively seeking stability through seclusion from what's going on at the world at large. You're going to be kind of hibernating and turning inward way more so than normal. And this is a period where you might undergo a lot of loss and a lot of change through that loss, but ultimately you're losing things that are not a part of your life moving forward, that are not meant to be a part of your life moving forward, because these cycles have ended, these cycles have passed. And so you're going to be very actively engaged in purging things so you can make the changes you need to make, so you can have your own space, so you can have that rest, you can have that contemplation. You might also just be diving headfirst into your spirituality and studying maybe very unusual things behind the scenes, especially related to your spirituality. And that's going to take you down a whole rabbit hole over these next 18 months. All right. And so for Cancer and for Cancer rising, the nodes are shifting into your 11th and 5th house. And this is actually a lot nicer for Cancer than for some of the other signs because the nodes are going to be trining and sextiling your ascendant, sun, or moon. And so this might be a little bit more gentle on you, which is a good thing, especially come summer when we have the T-square, which is not necessarily going to be a gentle energy overall. And so you're going to be meeting a lot of very unusual and interesting people over the next 18 months. You're going to be making some karmic connections with some unusual and interesting people over the next 18 months where it feels like fate. It feels like you are being guided to connect with this social circle, to be connecting with these people in this place at this moment in time. Like it's part of your destiny to form community, to form these social connections that are highly unusual. This could be you actually joining in some sort of like activism group or something like that, something that is intended to change and help and better humanity, especially if it's related to food or finance or, something very material where you're looking at innovative ways of helping the collective. This is a really great time for you to engage with that. And you probably will, for a lot of you, engage with something of that nature over the course of the next 18 months. But definitely, you're going to have some fated changes and twists and turns involving your friendships. Over the summer, especially around that July 31st period, some of these changes could be a little bit jarring and a little bit disruptive. I would say that your alliances will change pretty dramatically over that time period. And so just be aware. However, it's not going to be as challenging for you as it will be for some of the other signs. And this will lead to you having deeper, better, just liberating, really exciting connections, especially not just on a group level, but one on one with people. It's going to liberate you from connections that you don't need to have. It's going to liberate you from people that are bogging you down and judging you and causing you to feel like you need to be someone who you're not, because you're rebelling against that right now. This is going to be you very actively rebelling against what society expects from you and from what other people in your life expect you to be. And the South Node energy too. You're going to be letting go of something. For some people, like if you have children who are growing up and getting older, this could be you having to, surrender and allow them to leave the nest or to become more independent and maybe less reliant on you. And that could be a big part of this too. Luckily, it looks like that'll come quite easily during this time, but that's going to be a big part of the shift. And maybe the shift is focusing less on your children and focusing more on your social connections and maybe some activism and things like that as well. Um, but this is also you letting go of a passion that maybe has fizzled out that you're not excited about anymore so you can focus on other things. Or this could be you reconnecting with an old passion, an old hobby, an old love that you thought had fallen away, but you realize that you need to actually reincorporate this into your life. And it's part of your path, it's part of your fate. And so that's what's going on for Cancer. Okay. And so for Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, you're going to have a massive change coming when it comes to your career and potentially your place of living. Also, you personally, your relationships, basically everything in your life is up for review and up for change over these next 18 months because you're a Leo and this is happening in the fixed signs. And so that's just kind of the way things, have panned out for this eclipse cycle for this 18-month period of the lunar node transit. And so expect big changes and expect the unexpected. So you might think that you're already making some shifts and changes in your work, in your career, in the way that you are putting yourself out there into the world, or with the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. And you probably have made some slow, chaotic headway in that area. But there's going to be a sudden burst of activity this summer where all of a sudden everything changes, and it could put a strain on your relationships, and it could be put a strain on your physical body and on your mindset. It could be mentally and physically very taxing. And it could be maybe a shock to the system when it comes to your partner in business or your partner in marriage or in life, where it could cause some strain, some heaviness, or some added responsibility. It could also be that your partner's job changes, and that adds a lot of responsibility to your plate very suddenly and very rapidly. And that's the direction that the shift takes. And maybe that could even lead to like a move or something like that. So there could be a new financial opportunity that comes up for you all of a sudden that causes you to have to change location, that causes you to have to move. Or there could be a new job opportunity that comes in for your partner, or a new business partnership that comes in for you. And that could be related to a change in your home, your family, or your place of living, or your location. This could also be an energy of you having to let go of something involving your connections to your family, past, present, or future, where it's kind of like, all right, this cycle, this karma, this ancestral like wound, this is done. I'm done with this. I'm healing it. I'm letting it go, and I'm not revisiting this anymore. This is especially true for those of you who have maybe a lot of trauma or difficulty that you're still holding on to psychologically from your childhood. This is a time where you're really going to be going through a process of healing. But this could very literally be you letting go of a location or a home that you really hold dear in pursuit of change, in pursuit of new opportunity, in order to liberate yourself when it comes to what it is that you're putting out there into the world. And that could be a big part of this as well. All right. And so for Virgo and so for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this energy is happening in your ninth and your third house. This is another sign where it's not going to be quite as intense. It's going to be much more of a positive experience because the nodes are going to be trining your ascendant sun or moon, and so new opportunities will come about, and it'll come about a little bit more gently for you. So it's not going to be this big, like chaotic experience for most Virgos. And so, what you're kind of moving into here, what you're shifting into, is a brand new way of viewing the world. It's like your entire worldview is just absolutely collapsing around you, and your mindset about life, the values that you hold dear, are completely shifting in ways that you never could have expected. This could also bring unexpected and exciting new opportunities to learn something new, to travel, to connect with people from other cultures or other backgrounds. And that's going to change, again, your worldview, and it's going to change the trajectory of your life as you know it. This is you letting go of maybe obsessive thought processes and negative belief patterns that you're kind of playing out in your head on a day-to-day basis. This is kind of like a shift from that, where you're going to be the shift in perspective is going to cause you to have to let go of a lot of your negative self-talk and a lot of your kind of day-to-day thinking about the world around you, because this is going to be such a mind-blowing experience for you. And again, this could just be something as simple as you like traveling to another country or traveling to a different location, and that experience really shifts your perspective and it blows your mind in some way. There could be unexpected travel opportunities that come up out of the blue, especially this summer. They could be difficult, especially when it comes to balancing that with your work, but definitely very fruitful. Or it could be something as simple as studying something new. Maybe you're taking my astrology course and it completely changes, it blows your mind, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize astrology could do all of this. Or it changes your path in life in some way. Maybe you're taking a course in, something completely different, like technology related, or, because Uranus, right? Or a course that, is something that you never would have thought to explore. And now that you've explored it, you realize that you were wrong about so many things in life. This could also be you exploring new religious ideologies and belief systems that you never really thought about before, or changing your religious belief systems pretty dramatically. And that could be a part of this too. There could be a lot of change and unexpected energy coming around, involving not just travel, but your means of travel. So it could be that you have to let go of a vehicle or let go of a commute or a way of commuting, and that could be part of this too. And this could bring changes involving siblings, extended family members, your community at large, or it could bring a connection to a new teacher. And so that's what's going on for Virgo. Oh, I should say too that this could launch you into like teaching something really unusual and outside of the box, where it just all of a sudden happens and it's very stressful in the moment, but it's actually a very liberating and exciting experience for you, like in the end overall. Okay, and so for Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libra, this energy is happening in your second and your eighth house. And so this is another energy where your financial situation is changing. There could definitely be some major disruptions to your finances over the summer. And just in general, there's going to be like twists and turns and, twists of fate, right? Twists of fate that shift the way that you're dealing with your money, or making your money, or investing your money, or spending your money. There could be unexpected expenses that come up over the summer that could cause a little bit of stress or strain or hardship. But addressing these things head on, shifting or pivoting the way that you're dealing with money, will dramatically alter your future and will cause a greater sense of liberation and freedom around your money moving forward. This could also bring the need to let go of an old way of handling your resources, or maybe an old job opportunity or something like that, an old way of creating resources with the South Node in the second house. That could be a big shift too. But there's going to be a really incredible drive for you to find stability amidst a lot of instability financially, collectively, like globally, and also in your own life. And you're going to feel a lot of pressure around that, and that's going to cause you to take a completely different route and look at things in a completely different way. This could also bring up unexpected power struggles and control issues, not just around finances, but just in general, that you're going to have to deal with. And this could also send you down a massive rabbit hole with occult studies. That's a big one too, where all of a sudden you're like on this insatiable quest for deeper knowledge and understanding, but also a way to bring that deep knowledge and understanding into the tangible reality, to use it in a way that's practical, and to do it in a different way, in a way that other people aren't doing it. And so that's what's going on for Libra. Okay, and so for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this is happening in your sign. So it's happening in the sign of Scorpio, and also in the sign of Taurus and Gemini. Or sorry, not Gemini, in the sign of Taurus. And so yeah, so this is going to be a big, massive change for Scorpios, Sun, Moon, or Rising, where your entire life is likely to be flipped upside down in ways that you never could have expected. There are going to be massive changes and new developments in all of your relationships, especially in your marriage partnerships. And if you're not married or in a relationship, this is a time where a brand new relationship could come up in a way that's very disruptive, that it kind of just throws you for a loop. It comes out of nowhere, it smacks you in the face, and it changes the trajectory of your entire life in massive ways. This could be also a need to focus a little bit more on the changes that are going on within your partnership, to change and grow together in partnership with somebody who you're already connected to romantically or otherwise, because this is all close personal relationships. This is a time where you're going to be a lot less selfish and a lot less self-focused, and a lot more focused on the needs of other people and the chaos that's going on in other people's lives, because you're going to be there to help them sort things out, to use your Scorpio powers of discernment and focus to help them get to the bottom of things. And that's going to be a huge gift during this time. But I would say that, especially over the summer, something massive with your partnerships, with your contracts and agreements in business, something massive with your relationships in general, your connections will change pretty dramatically. And there could be a change involving your place of living that could be strenuous and difficult at first, but in the end, it's going to lead to greater liberation moving forward. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this is happening in your 6th and in your 12th houses. And so this is a time where you're going to have to be letting go of, well, you're going to be changing a lot. So I would say that there's going to be a lot of change and shift and unexpected new developments that come up for you that are very fated, very synchronistic. They feel like the right thing to do, but they're going to be very strenuous. And that's going to be coming through the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, your work in general. Also, there could be some health related challenges that come through you, or maybe through somebody that you love and care about, that cause you to have to change your day-to-day routines in order to show up in service, to care for other people. And so that could be a big thing that's coming up for you as well. This is a major period though of letting go and purging. So this is the South Node in your 12th house. You are ending. This is so many endings coming forward right now, where old cycles, old patterns, old just things that you've identified with so strongly in this lifetime, these patterns, these connections, you are shedding them, you are purging them, you are detoxing them. Speaking of detox, this would be a really great time for a detox or a really great time for you to focus on changing something really dramatically with your health, so that way you can improve it moving forward. So for Sagittarius, I would say that this is definitely a time to innovate. This is a time to do new and exciting things with your work, but this is also a time to just be cautious about your energy levels and make sure that you're not burning yourself out, because you're going to be having a greater tendency toward just becoming more of a workaholic. You're going to have an insatiable need to accomplish things, to get things done, to serve other people. And your day-to-day routines and experiences are going to be hugely disrupted throughout this time period. It's going to be very hard for you to stick to any sort of routine. And as soon as you think that you got the ball rolling with something, everything is going to change. You're going to be thrown off kilter again. And so you want to make sure that you're taking good care of your body and that you're retreating into that South Node transit. You're retreating into the space of rest and retreat and reprieve and spirituality. Spirituality, spiritual practice, and contemplation and creativity, as much so as humanly possible throughout this time. There's a lot that you're letting go of there, and so you can't sit in that space for too long, but there's a lot of gifts that you have acquired through your past experience with that area of life that you can call upon throughout this time period. And so that's what's going on for Sagittarius. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this energy is happening in your 5th and in your 11th house. This is another sign where it's definitely not the worst energy. It's going to be strenuous for everyone when we have the Uranus North Node conjunction with Mars and the T-square and all of that. However, for the most part, this is going to be a positive influence on a lot of areas of life for Capricorn. You are going to be embracing brand new beginnings, major transformations, major upheavals that throw you in a whole new direction in pursuit of your passions. This is about you doing what brings you joy. This is about doing what you love most. This could also be unexpected new developments coming up for you in the realm of children. And so if you're not planning to have children, but you're, in a relationship, I don't even know if being cautious would help because it's the nodes. The nodes are going to bring what they're going to bring. But just be aware, right, that this is a very significant trigger that I've seen in many of my clients' charts for unexpected pregnancy. And so just be aware of that. And even if you are somebody who already has children or you're past your childbearing age, this is a time period where you could have unexpected circumstances and new developments that come through your children, where some circumstance with your child changes. Maybe, your children are grown and they're out of the home, but they surprise you or shock you with something like some big news or a big change that they're making. And that impacts your life in a big way. I would say mostly positively. Like over the summer, it could feel a little tense, like, oh gosh, how are we going to do this? How am I going to help support my child through this process? But overall, I think it's going to be really liberating. And this could be also you discovering a shared passion with your children too, and shaking things up in that way and shifting your relationship with your either child children or adult children in a really big, impactful, powerful way, in ways that you never could have expected. But I would say especially this is a time for you to think outside the box when it comes to the things that you do for pleasure and for joy, and expect the unexpected when it comes to new passions and new exciting hobbies and interests and pursuits, and maybe even like an unexpected fling or a romance. This is a great energy for like a quick little love affair or a quick little fling that is really exciting and shifts your direction in life, shifts course for you in a lot of ways, but doesn't necessarily stick. So this is something to also just kind of make note of for those of you who are single. It could bring a little bit of a shakeup in that area. Your romantic life could get a lot more exciting, but it's not necessarily an energy of longevity. The other thing that's going on is the South Node is transiting your 11th house. You're going to have a lot of fated, karmic, new connections with old souls that you've been connected with for many lifetimes. And so you're going to have these very strange, synchronistic, karmic alignments with groups of people and new friends and new networks where these people feel very familiar. They feel very comfortable to you. It feels like you already know them even though you've just met. Embrace these connections because they're meant to come with you and to move forward with you in this lifetime. This is also a period where old connections with friends and social networks and groups of people that you surround yourself with of your own choosing, where these connections that are maybe played out or are no longer serving you, they're just going to fall away quite naturally. So you're actually going to be letting go of certain connections and certain friendships and certain aspects of your friendships. And you'll definitely be letting go of power struggles and toxic friendships very, very easily, very gently without having to really put effort into it. But you're also going to be embracing new friendships that feel like old friendships. And so that's really exciting. So a lot going on in the area of relationships for Capricorn during this 18-month cycle. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this energy is going to be impacting your entire life. I mean, this is in the angular houses for you. It's happening in your 4th and in your 10th house, which means it's also going to be squaring or forming a T-square with your ascendant sun or moon. This is big change energy. This is where your entire life is going to be turned upside down so you can move into a liberating new direction in life. And this could very literally be a move for a lot of Aquarius people with the North Node conjunct Uranus in your 4th house. I would expect a lot of Aquarius rising people in particular to be changing location or changing something about their living situation over the course of this summer and over the course of this year in particular. I would say that that could be due to some sort of need to do so, like something gets disrupted in your living environment and you have to change it. Or it could be because maybe there's a loss of a job or a fated new opportunity that comes to you through your work and it forces you to have to relocate. This could also be massive changes going on when it comes to your family connections and family ties, where that gets disrupted or changed in some way. And I mean, that could be really exciting. It could be something to embrace. However, it's going to feel very strenuous in the moment. I would say that there could be arguments, disputes, and new developments in your family connections that could be very unsettling. It could also be that information or circumstances come up out of the blue that sort of shock you and force you to change something about your family connections, your family relationships. This is going to be a destabilizing energy for your foundations. And when your foundations are destabilized, your whole life will change. And again, in the summer, it's going to feel more strenuous, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. You need to move in this direction. It's part of your path. It's part of your destiny in this lifetime. So don't take it lightly and, don't feel like whatever's going on and the chaos in the moment, that's the thing that's going to stick forever, because it's not. But the change is going to be uncomfortable. This is a lot of fixed energy that's getting a lot of shaking up, and fixed energy doesn't like to change. You're going to have to change your mindset. You're going to have to change who you are out in the world. You're going to have to change your relationships. You might have to change the work that you're doing or some aspect of the work that you're doing in order to facilitate this foundational, grassroots, ground level change that's really reverberating across all areas of life for you this year. And so this is a big moment in time. This is going to be one of those before and after. Like before this year, it was one way. After this year, it was a different way. And yeah, that was a little difficult, but wow, I am so glad that happened, because I am so free, I am so liberated, and I am excited about the life that I'm living now. That's the energy of this lunar node transit for Aquarius. Okay. And for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this energy is happening in your 3rd and in your 9th house. And so lucky Pisces, this is another sign where it's not going to be the craziest, most, chaotic energy for you. It's going to hit you a little bit more gentle. And it's just going to be a nicer, more pleasant energy overall. A lot of what you're changing is going to have to do with your mindset. So there's going to be a huge shift in the way that you view the world and the way that you think about life. This could also be a huge shift or major new opportunities, fated new opportunities that come through education or your ability to educate other people or communicate really innovative, exciting, rebellious even kinds of new ideas that other people prior to this time might not have been open to. So if there's something you've been wanting to write about, blog about, make videos about, talk about, do a podcast about, but you're like, are people ready for this, or is this too weird? It's not. Go for it, right? That's the energy for you for the next 18 months. This is also where Major shifts can come from travel plans, or unexpected travel plans can come up and cause you to change course or change direction in your life in one or more big ways. And so definitely take advantage of those opportunities when they come up. I could also see for a lot of Pisces that you're going to be traveling more locally as opposed to globally, which, I mean, that's kind of like a, I feel like that's almost like a dumb thing to say because we're like, having the whole pandemic situation. So for a lot of people, that's the thing. But you're going to be shifting focus to exploring your immediate surroundings. And I do feel like there's going to be more travel though, but it's going to be like more local travel, and it's going to be within, maybe a few hundred miles or something like that. So it's kind of like you're all over the place, but within a certain space. And that's kind of what I see here with this north node, especially with Uranus in the third house. There could also be fate and new developments involving vehicles. Or involving, your commute or just travel in general. But this could also be a change or a shift in direction when it comes to your relationship with your community, with your neighbors, with your neighborhood. You could be forming new community. You could be connecting with very weird people in your community, but it's like, wow, I didn't think that I would get along with this person, but I love my neighbor down the street. I thought he was a crazy person, but he's actually brilliant, and now we're friends. Like, that's the kind of energy with the North Node conjunct Uranus transiting in your chart right now. This is also where you're going to be letting go of a lot of old ideas, values, ideologies that are toxic, that are holding you back, that are keeping you stuck, that you have some sort of emotional or psychological attachment to, but they're not relevant anymore. And they actually don't work for you on a practical grassroots level. And so your experiences over the next 18 months are going to shake you out of a rut when it comes to your worldview. And you're going to change the way that you view your entire life as a result of this. And that's going to facilitate a lot of positive change when it comes to who you are and the way that you show up in the world and the way that you connect with other people. So I love, love, love this. I will say, though, that there could be some challenging and shocking communication that comes in this summer, and that could be a little bit burdensome. That could be a little bit stressful, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's almost as if something comes in and shocks you, and it's like, oh God, now I have to carry this weight of this secret or this like new information. And after you kind of sit with it and after it sort of marinates, you're like, actually, this isn't so bad. Now I realize a different viewpoint because of this, and I'm going to change course. And so that's what's going on for Pisces. I don't think this is the worst thing. This is actually a really pleasant energy for you. And so, yeah. Lucky Pisces. So that's my forecast for all 12 signs. And I just want to mention and give you guys a little preview of what's coming next. So next week, we're going to have another regular forecast video for the new moon in Aquarius, which is a big one. It's a little tense, so that's definitely something that you won't want to miss. But I'm also going to be doing another video 2 weeks from now, and it's going to be part tutorial and part forecast, and it's going to be centered on the lunar nodes to give you additional information about what we just talked about here. Because the lunar nodes are changing signs, they're going to be aspecting completely different planets in your chart. And we are going to go through all of the planets, Sun through Pluto, so the planets, right? In astrology, the sun and moon are both planets and luminaries. We're going to be going through all of the astrological planets and the energy and what happens and what occurs for you when the transiting lunar nodes aspect those planets, especially by conjunction and opposition, but also by square and by trine and sextile. And so you're going to get a really deep interpretation of what's coming up for you, because these nodes are shifting into the fixed signs and hitting different planets. And this is some information that you can carry with you way beyond the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. This is relevant for every time the lunar nodes change signs and start hitting different planets in your chart. And so I'm really looking forward to releasing that video for you, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. And so again, that'll be released in 2 weeks. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure that you share it with your friends if you think that this information will help them through the next year and a half. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.